The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead as I stared at the manila envelope in my cubicle, my heart slamming against my ribs like a trapped animal. "You're served," the lawyer had said. His voice slick and detached, dropping the divorce papers on my desk amid the scattered blueprints and coffee stains. But it wasn't the papers that gutted me. It was the way he smirked, like he knew the dirt my wife had fed him, like he relished delivering this public execution in the middle of my engineering firm's open-plan office. Colleagues' heads swiveled, whispers rippling like poison through the air. Humiliation burned in my chest, hot and acrid, as I fought the urge to lunge across the desk and wipe that smug grin off his face. Instead, I reached into my drawer, my fingers trembling on the cool edge of another envelope, the one I'd prepared in secret nights ago, when the betrayal first clawed its way into my soul. My name is Ethan Harper, and until 6 months ago, I thought my marriage to Laura was unbreakable. We'd built a life in the suburbs of Chicago, a cozy two-story with a backyard where our dog, Max, chased squirrels under the maple trees. I was the steady one, the engineer who fixed problems with logic and precision, while Laura, with her fiery ambition as a marketing executive, brought the spark. But sparks can ignite fires that consume everything. It started with late nights at the office, her phone buzzing under her pillow, the scent of unfamiliar cologne on her collars. I denied it at first, telling myself it was stress from her promotion, that the distance between us was just a phase. But denial is a fragile shield, and one rainy evening it shattered. I remember the downpour hammering the roof like accusations as I sat in the living room, nursing a whiskey that burned less than the knot in my gut. Laura was working late again. Max whined at the door, his tail thumping expectantly. I picked up her laptop, left carelessly on the coffee table, its screen still warm. Password. Our wedding date, ironic now. Emails popped up, intimate and damning, from her boss, Marcus. "Can't wait to feel you again," one read. My vision blurred, rage and heartbreak colliding like thunder. I slammed the laptop shut, the crack echoing through the empty house. How could she? After 12 years, 2 miscarriages we'd grieved together, the vows we'd whispered under a canopy of stars. I paced the room, fists clenched, imagining confronting her, screaming until my throat bled. But no, that would be too easy, too raw. Revenge whispered in my ear, cold and calculated, promising something sharper than mere words. The next days blurred into a haze of obsession. At work, I'd stare at schematics, but my mind mapped out her lies instead. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Reyes, who tailed her with the discretion of a shadow. Photos arrived in unmarked envelopes. Laura and Marcus at a downtown hotel, her hand on his arm, laughter frozen in pixels. Each image was a knife twist, fueling the resentment that festered like an open wound. Guilt nipped at me too. Was I invading her privacy? But betrayal justified it, didn't it? I pored over our finances, discovering secret credit card charges for lingerie and weekend getaways. Heartbreak morphed into cold resolve. I wouldn't just survive this. I'd dismantle her world as meticulously as I'd built ours. Nights became battlegrounds of inner turmoil. I'd lie awake in our bed, her side empty and cold, fantasies swirling. In one, I exposed them publicly, watching Marcus's career crumble. In another, I forgave her, but that felt like weakness, a betrayal of myself. Doubt crept in. Maybe I drove her away with my predictability, my long hours buried in blueprints. Moral conflict gnawed. Revenge made me no better than her, did it? But then I'd remember the emails, the way she'd look me in the eye and lie about client dinners, and resolve hardened like steel. I began gathering evidence, not just for divorce, but for annihilation. Tax records showed she'd funneled money into a joint account with Marcus. Embezzlement? Close enough. I consulted my own lawyer in secret, a shark named Elena who specialized in high-stakes divorces. "We can bury her," Elena said over coffee in a dimly lit diner, her eyes gleaming. But I wanted more than alimony. I wanted her to feel the humiliation I'd endured. The office air felt thicker that morning, the hum of printers and keyboards a mocking soundtrack to my unraveling life. I'd suspected the papers were coming. Laura had grown distant, her texts curt and evasive. But serving me at work. That was deliberate cruelty. A power play to strip me of dignity in front of my peers. The lawyer, a slick suit named Harlan Voss, loomed over my desk, his cologne cloying like deceit. "Ethan Harper," he drawled, extending the envelope. My co-workers froze, coffee mugs midway to lips, eyes wide with prurient curiosity. Fury surged, but I swallowed it, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Yes," I replied, my voice steady, though my pulse thundered. He dropped the papers with a flourish. "Divorce petition from Laura Harper. You've been served." His lips curled, as if savoring my discomfort. Inside I seethed. How dare she send this lackey to humiliate me? Heartbreak twisted into resentment. This wasn't just ending our marriage, it was weaponizing it. But I'd anticipated this. From my drawer, I pulled my own envelope, thick with documents, sealed with the weight of my vengeance. "And this," I said, handing it to him, my hand steady now, "is for you to deliver to my wife. Consider it a counter-serve." Voss blinked, caught off guard, his smirk faltering. He took it hesitantly, fingers brushing mine like a reluctant handshake. "What's this?" he asked, curiosity edging his tone. "Evidence," I replied cryptically, leaning back in my chair. The office murmur resumed, but tension hung like smoke. Inside, triumph flickered amid the storm of emotions. Guilt for the lengths I'd gone, fear of the fallout, but mostly a cold satisfaction. This envelope held copies of the emails, financial trails, even affidavits from Reyes detailing their affair. But the real bombshell, proof that Laura had used company resources for personal gain, potentially costing her job and reputation. I debated including it, moral qualms surfacing like buoys in a turbulent sea. Was this justice or pettiness? But her betrayal had eroded my compassion. Now it was survival. Voss tucked it into his briefcase, nodding curtly. "I'll pass it along." As he turned to leave, his polished shoes clicking on the linoleum, I watched him go, a predator sensing the shift in power. Colleagues averted eyes, but I felt their stares like pinpricks. Humiliation lingered, but so did resolve. This was just the opening salvo. That evening, the house felt cavernous, shadows lengthening across the hardwood floors like accusations. Max greeted me at the door, his tail wagging obliviously, a brief balm to my frayed nerves. I poured a scotch, the amber liquid swirling like my thoughts. Laura's call came at 8 p.m., her voice shrill through the speaker. "What the hell did you give Harlan?" she demanded, no greeting, no pretense. I sipped slowly, letting silence build tension. "Just some reading material," I said evenly. "Thought you'd appreciate the context." "You bastard," she hissed, her breath hitching. "This could ruin me." "The affair, how did you?" "Does it matter?" I interrupted, anger bubbling up. "You ruined us first." There was a pause, heavy with unspoken regrets. "Ethan, I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Marcus. It was a mistake. A 6-month mistake." I shot back, my voice cracking despite myself. Heartbreak resurfaced, raw and unrelenting. Part of me wanted to believe her, to salvage the fragments of our love. But resentment won. "Save it for court." She hung up, the click echoing like a gavel. I sank into the couch, guilt washing over me. Was I becoming the monster? Obsession had consumed me, turning quiet evenings into plotting sessions. But as I stared at the envelope's duplicate on the table, doubt receded. This was poetic, her secrets exposed, just as she'd exposed my heart. The next weeks were a slow burn of anticipation. Elena reviewed my evidence, her office cluttered with files and the scent of stale coffee. "This is gold," she said, tapping the stack. "Adultery clauses in Illinois aren't ironclad, but with the financial misconduct, we can argue dissipation of assets. Her case crumbles." I nodded, but inner conflict raged. Fantasies of her begging for mercy clashed with fear of the void post-revenge. What if this destroyed her completely? Moral grayness loomed. Revenge felt justified, yet tainted. Still I pressed on, gathering more. Witness statements from colleagues who'd seen her with Marcus at company events. Laura's texts grew desperate, laced with manipulation. "We can settle this amicably," one read. "For old time's sake." I ignored them, each silence a small victory. Suspense mounted as the court date approached. Hints of her unraveling filtering through mutual friends. Sleepless nights, weight loss. My own resolve hardened, but cracks appeared. Dreams where I forgave her, waking with tears. One night Reyes called. "She's meeting Marcus again," he said gruffly. "Hotel downtown." Rage flared anew. I drove there, rain slicking the streets like tears, parking across from the neon-lit entrance. Through the lobby windows I saw them. Laura's hand on his chest, laughter forced. Humiliation twisted. This was the man who'd stolen my life. I gripped the wheel, knuckles white, tempted to storm in. But no patience. Revenge demanded precision. Back home I added photos to the file, the envelope growing thicker, a testament to my obsession. Guilt whispered, "Stop now before it's irreversible." But betrayal's scar burned too deep. The court loomed, a coliseum for our final battle. I dressed meticulously, tie straight like my resolve. As I left, Max whined, sensing the storm. Little did Laura know, the envelope I'd handed Voss was just the prelude. The courtroom air was stale, thick with the scent of polished wood and nervous sweat, as I took my seat on the hard bench. Sunlight slanted through high windows, casting bars of light like prison shadows across the floor. My heart pounded an erratic rhythm, a mix of anticipation and dread. Laura sat across the aisle, her once vibrant eyes hollow, flanked by Voss, who avoided my gaze. She glanced at me, a flicker of something, regret? Fear? Crossing her face. I looked away, focusing on Elena beside me. Her briefcase, an arsenal of truths. This was it. The culmination of months of quiet fury, where my envelope's contents would unleash the storm I'd brewed in secrecy. The judge, a stern woman with wire-rimmed glasses, called the case. Harper versus Harper. Voss opened, his voice smooth as oil. "Your Honor, Mrs. Harper seeks dissolution on grounds of irreconcilable differences. She's requesting alimony and division of assets, given her contributions to the marriage." Elena rose, her heels clicking authoritatively. "We contest, Your Honor. Evidence shows Mrs. Harper engaged in an extramarital affair, dissipating marital assets in the process." Murmurs rippled through the sparse gallery. Friends, family, their faces masks of shock. Laura's cheeks flushed, her hands twisting in her lap. Voss objected, but the judge overruled. "Proceed." Elena laid out the emails first, projecting them on a screen. The words loomed large. Intimate promises, stolen moments. Laura's head bowed, shoulders shaking. I watched, a cocktail of satisfaction and guilt churning inside. This was justice, but seeing her crumble stirred unwanted pity. Had I gone too far? Inner doubt surged. Revenge's thrill faded against the human cost. Furthermore, Elena continued, financial records indicate Mrs. Harper used joint funds for personal expenditures related to the affair. Hotels, gifts, totaling over $15,000. Voss stammered. "This is circumstantial." But Elena pressed on, introducing Reyes's affidavit and photos. The courtroom hushed as images flashed. Laura and Marcus, arms linked, entering the hotel. A gasp escaped Laura's mother in the back row. Humiliation mirrored what I'd felt at work, a poetic echo that both gratified and shamed me. Laura took the stand, her voice trembling. "It was a mistake," she whispered, eyes pleading toward me. "Ethan, I never meant to hurt you like this." Believable. Part of me ached to believe, memories of our better days flashing. Lazy Sundays, shared dreams. But resentment anchored me. "Mistakes don't last months," I muttered under my breath, though the mic caught it, amplifying my suppressed rage. Cross-examination was brutal. Elena grilled her. Did you use company email for these communications? Laura hesitated, glancing at Voss. Yes, but... And company time for rendezvous? Tears welled. I was unhappy. Ethan was always working. Blame shifting won't erase the facts, Elena cut in sharply. I shifted in my seat, the wooden bench creaking like my resolve. Obsession had led here, but moral conflict peaked. Was exposing her worth this public flaying. Fantasies of reconciliation flickered, but betrayal's wound throbbed. Voss called Marcus as a witness, a desperate ploy. The man swaggered in, suit crisp, but his eyes darted nervously. It was mutual, he said under oath. No coercion. Elena pounced. Mr. Thorne, you're Mrs. Harper's superior. Isn't this a conflict of interest? He faltered. We kept it separate. Lies, I thought, clenching my fists. Then came the twist I'd planted subtly. The envelope's deeper layer. Elena produced documents showing Marcus had approved Laura's expenses as business reimbursements, skirting company policy. Embezzlement light, enough to taint both. Your Honor, Elena said, this not only dissipates assets but suggests professional misconduct. We've notified their employer. Laura's face drained of color. Marcus blanched, whispering furiously to Voss. The courtroom buzzed, tension coiling like a spring. I met Laura's gaze. Her eyes held accusation but also defeat. Heartbreak mirrored back, hours intertwined in ruin. The judge recessed, the gavel's crack echoing like finality. In the hallway Laura approached, her perfume a ghost of happier times. Why, Ethan, she whispered, voice breaking. This will cost me everything, my job, my reputation. You cost me everything first, I replied, but my tone lacked venom, laced with regret. Inner turmoil peaked. Revenge delivered, but at what price? Guilt swelled. Had I become vindictive? No better than her deceiver. She touched my arm, a spark of old connection. I loved you. Still do, in a way. Words hung heavy with what? But I pulled away. Love doesn't betray. Back in session, the judge ruled. No alimony for Laura. Assets divided unevenly in my favor due to dissipation. Adultery alone isn't grounds, she said, but the financial impropriety tips the scale. Voss slumped. Laura wept quietly. As we filed out, Elena clapped my shoulder. Victory! But it tasted bittersweet. Outside, under a leaden sky, rain began to fall, mirroring my mood. Friends congratulated me, but isolation gripped. Max waited at home, oblivious, a remnant of our shattered life. Weeks later, the twist unfolded. Laura lost her job. Company investigation sparked by my anonymous tip. Marcus, too, his career torpedoed. She called one last time, voice hollow. You win. Happy now. I paused, staring at our wedding photo, cracked frame symbolic. No, I admitted, honesty raw. But it's done. Hanging up, cold resolve thawed into emptiness. Revenge's fire had burned out, leaving ashes of guilt and reflection. Was justice served or just mutual destruction? In the quiet house, shadows lengthened, and I wondered if betrayal's true victim was the man I'd become. Yet, in that moral gray, a shocking epiphany. The envelope hadn't just destroyed her case. It had freed me, albeit scarred. Poetic justice, perhaps, in the ruins we both navigated. As thunder rumbled outside, I poured a drink, toasting the storm's end, or its beginning.